Good morning. My name's Jason, and I'm the younger version of the Highwayman.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm Steve, and only by a few months, well, maybe a bit more. I'm the slightly more mature version of us, I suppose. But well, listen, we're doing something a bit unusual for us today.
Spooky.
Yeah, we are, but normally we've got an idea of what we're going to talk about, haven't we? I mean,
Yes.
to be honest, sometimes I'm in the dark with exactly what it's going to be, but we've got a bit of an idea of what we're going to do. But we have literally just at the last minute changed what we're going to do, haven't we?
Yes.
Literally just now before recording. So this could go one of two ways. So we are literally flying by the seat of our pants,
which is pretty standard, to be fair, isn't it? Pretty standard. But today we're going to be talking demonic possession. Is it real? Is it not real? What do we think, Steve? Have you ever have you ever projectile vomited green sick?
Yes, it's normally after a particularly good night out, quite frankly.
Yes.
But and
green sick one end and brown sick the other.
Exactly. But I genuinely, a bit more than a believer in this, if I'm truthful with you.
Ooh.
My brother-in-law actually was employed by the church to go around and looking into all this kind of stuff.
Really?
Once upon a time.
Wow.
Honestly. Doesn't say too much about it, doesn't really do that, but he's a very spiritual person. He's very much in touch with, he's from your neck of the woods, mate. He lives in Wigston.
Okay.
And
is he my age? How old is he?
A bit older than you. He's a bit older than me. So he's what, 64?
Okay. Greg might know him.
Yeah. So but yeah, it was for about a year.
Wow.
And they went all over the place. Yeah.
So what was it? What was his findings, though?
Never really spoke too much about it, but most definitely there were things that he hinted at. A lot of the time they were going into houses or churches actually that were, I don't know, an entity or whatever you want to call them and stuff like that. But I know that they went to at least one person that was.
The thing is, and this is where it kind of, because obviously we like to believe that there's more to life than just what we know, don't we? We believe in the spirit and all this because we want to live forever and all this kind of stuff. But then also you've got to look at mental illnesses, things like schizophrenia in the brain and all those kind of things. Demonic possession was a term that they came up with like thousands of years ago before we have the understanding that we have today of people. Even like kids with ADHD and stuff like that, doing kind of for no reason, doing naughty things, if you like, schizophrenia and all these kind of things that we never understood before, that maybe, the only way they can explain it is somebody's not normal, therefore they must be possessed by a demon. So have we kind of taken what we know about, what we didn't know about mental health and given it a name? Demonic possession. Is it all the things that we now call autism, ADHD, schizophrenia, and all these like different conditions, that the fact that they didn't understand it, so therefore they just gave it a name and said, okay, that's demonic, that must be demonic depression. So someone with autism, for argument's sake, who hears lots of sounds and suddenly starts holding their head and stuff like that, and then people looking at that person saying, oh, is he hearing voices? Or, you know what I mean? There's all these 100%. Other things. Yeah,
100%. Back in the day, that would have been it. You got to, for some reason, we love putting a label on things.
Yes.
So that would have been a case of, oh my God, because the medical understanding just wasn't there.
Yeah.
But let's move on then from that. And if you go back to the witch hunts then and all the bits and pieces like that, I mean, that was like a daily occurrence, wasn't it? It happened all the time. So there was a massive amount of it. As we now know, there wasn't a massive amount of it because a lot of it was attributed to exactly what you've just said,
Yes.
But let's move on. It's still out there. Now, if you watch some of the films, they'll have you believe of levitation and all sorts of bits and pieces like that, which that might be a bit far-fetched. But do you know what? There's an old saying that if Hollywood can come up with it, it either will happen or it has happened.
Well, I've got a story. Oh, go on.
Oh, hello. Go on then.
So, do you remember I'm going to bleep this out so people don't use the names. Do you remember our customer?
Very much so. Yeah.
Do you remember Nigel?
I got to be honest.
Okay. So he was the guy he was the guy that owned it. They're actually our first customer, believe it or not. They were actually our first customer, because I used to do a sandwich round before we started that business, and he was one of my customers. And that's I went in there and said, "Oh, I'm starting this transport business." So anyway, he came in one evening, and I can't remember what we got on the subject of. We got on the subject of demonic possession. Now, he told me this story. Now, okay, it's one bloke telling another bloke a story. He didn't have any reason to lie to me. He wasn't that sort of bloke. He was very, very intellectually. Anyway, the story was his wife, and I've met his wife, used to be a dancer. And he said it was very kind of cutthroat, and, you know, and it was all about, you know, getting the lead roles and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of bitchiness and all terrible, 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 terrible things. Well, they started to practice witchcraft. And she said that told me that his wife cast a spell on one of the other dancers to get very bad acne, so that she couldn't be the lead because she had the lead role. And he said, and I saw myself, this woman came out in all these horrible, like, boils all over her face. He said, I saw it. He says, anyway, and he started to tell me that it wasn't, they thought they were doing witchcraft, but actually they'd summoned a demon, right? And his wife got possessed by this demon, right? He told me that she tried to kill him as they were driving along in the car. He told me all these stories, and he actually wrote a book a book about it. And he went to Hollywood to try and sell it. And I did remember the name of the book. I couldn't tell you what it was called now. I do remember looking it up some time ago, but I can't remember what it was called now. Or maybe I just looked up his name. I can't remember. But anyway, he wrote this book and sold it to try to sell it to Hollywood, but they didn't buy into it. But, you know, again, I don't know. It's only one person relaying a story to me. Maybe he just saw me as somebody who's gullible who would sit there and listen to it, or, you know, just tell me a load of rubbish, or maybe he's telling me the absolute truth of what he believes to be the truth. And it just always makes me wonder, you know, like you say, is there something out there? Is there something? But the problem is we like to believe so many things. I started watching, slightly off topic, but I started to watch a psychic on TikTok who was a psychic cab driver, and people get in the cab and he'd start recording it, and he'd start telling, oh, I've got somebody sitting next to you, it's your grandfather, and all this kind of stuff. And I started watching.
Oh, I think I've seen this.
Yeah, and I was really like getting into it and believing it. Oh my God, this guy's got such. Anyway, did a bit of Googling on him to find out, and apparently it'd been done. Apparently what he was doing is going around people's Facebook accounts, because we all put, you know, oh, you know, it's a year since my mum died this year, and put it on Facebook and stuff like that. And then so many things that you can get and then start digging into, and just so much information now that's available on social media. I mean, I could probably find a random person I don't even know and find enough about them on social media to just make them believe that something's true, that something's not. So I don't know. There's a key element of, we don't really understand why we're on the earth, and we're desperate to kind of find more to understand that. And this is where we come, you know, God and demons and afterlife and all this kind of stuff. So I think, like I said, go back to the whole schizophrenia and everything. There's an element of truth in what we believe, but there's also an element in because we want to believe there's something more, you know?
Yeah. I'm with you. There's a program, I don't know if it's still running at the moment, but it literally is. It was on a couple of weeks ago. I'm racking my brains to remember what it was called, and I blooming well can't. But it was hosted by a chap called Danny. It was on primetime TV, you know, and it wasn't on an out there channel. It was BBC One or ITV, something like that. And they investigated cases where these people had come forward and said, look, when I was a kid, this happened or whatever. And he dug into it. And there was two, we'll call them judges, for want of a better word. One was a staunch believer in the afterlife and everything else and all that. And the other guy was purely scientific and based everything, you know, on, he was the one who would have said, no, it's schizophrenia and we can attribute it to this and all the other bits and pieces. But I tell you what, so there was a different case every week, and it was incredible just how split the verdicts were, you know, and it really could have been one of either way. And I don't think that was particularly dependent on how your brain's wired up, what you wanted to believe. You know, that was about actual evidence that was laid down in front of you. And you know, there were argumentative cases for both sides of it. And I wish I could remember the name of the program, and I blooming well can't. But very good.
But you know, even like we did another video a few weeks ago or a few months ago now, probably a year ago, on ghosts, and it was a year ago because it's around Halloween last year. And you know, and I talked about my particular time I saw a ghost, and obviously I rationalised that down to the logical explanation, because that's how my brain works. You know, I have to find an answer, a logical answer to make it. But if I was a bit more the other way, where I'm more so believing in the afterlife and stuff, I would have sat here and swore blind and told everybody I know that I saw a ghost, and they'd believe me because, you know, I'm a truth-telling kind of bloke. So, but my rational doesn't actually, my rational part of my brain doesn't attest to that being a ghost. So again, it depends on how you think about it and how you interpret it to how you tell other people. Because I say, if I was like a real big believer in it, I'd be telling everyone left, right, centre, I've actually seen a ghost. I've seen a ghost. I've seen a ghost. I've got another belief behind that, you know, to say that's what I think that's why I think I saw a ghost. You know what I mean? So a lot of it also depends on how you think yourself and how you interpret it, because it'd be very easy to interpret something as demonic depression or something else, where it could be even like, look at someone who's got real bad postnatal depression. I mean, again, people's whole character's changed because they've got this rush of hormones with postnatal depression. And, you know, again, you could sit there and say, well, you know, that lady's cursed or possessed, because that's not like her at all. You know, in fact, here's another story. Here's another true story, actually, of somebody who had somebody I know of. I'm not going to say who it is, whose mother had postnatal depression with them when they were born. This is going back now a long, long time. This gentleman's older, and they actually got put in the lunatic asylum because the postnatal depression was so bad. And back in those days, and he was taken off and put into care as a baby, and because the husband couldn't cope with him. But back in those days, they literally lock you away and just forget about you, because the husband died. The children all were in foster care, didn't know what happened to the mother, and they actually thought that she died not long after his birth. And they found when about 10 years ago, when all medical records got released, he got to see his mother's medical records, and he thought she died like in the early 40s. She didn't die till the 1970s, but because there was no family, because the husband had died, there was no family to actually come sort of back and claim her, and she just got stuck in the lunatic asylum with postnatal depression, because it wasn't diagnosed as that at the time, but that's what. But they'd linked. They sort of said it was after they'd had the baby, and they thought so. He thought that she died in the 1940s, and she actually died in the 1970s.
That's horrible.
Yeah, because that's how we perceived mental illness back then. So again, if you take that back another 100 years or another 500 years, you know, something like that would have just been, you know, witchcraft or demonic possession or something along those lines, and just put along on the lines. But you know, we've obviously got the Hollywood side of it. When you look at films like The Exorcist, when, you know, like you said, there's all the levitation and the heads going around and all, you know. You've got to remember that's made for Hollywood. You know, even if it's based on a true story, they've embellished that for the viewing pleasure, because it's not going to be such an interesting story if she's not turning green and doing acrobatics, walking on her hands and lots of legs from behind and all the stuff that they do. So you've got to always bear in mind that the Hollywood version, even if it's based on a true story, doesn't actually mean that's what that person was doing.
No, I agree. Do you know what? Taking it to a little bit more simplifying it, if you like, every village, every town it's got a church, it's got a cathedral, it's got nowhere near as big as it used to be, but once upon a time the church was the biggest landowner. It was the biggest.
I think it still is. It still is.
I think Tesco is today, Jay.
Is it? I mean, I know a lot of the. Somebody told me, I don't know how true it is. There's a huge industrial estate near me called Magna Park, and apparently that's all church land.
It probably is.
Yeah,
It
it's all
probably
church
is.
land.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think Tesco now claim the limestone. But anyway, that's by the by. So, and how many thousands of people are employed by the church, either as a priest, a vicar, whatever. And when I would say this, I'm not picking up just Church of England. You know, this Catholicism, Protestant, whatever. It's all variations. Sorry, and I don't mean that rudely, but you know, it's all based on religion. So it's a huge thing, right? It's an absolutely huge thing. Now the reality is, for every piece of ground, there's a piece of sky. For every tree, there's a roots in the ground. For every wind that blows, there's a calm day. There's always an opposite to whatever there is. There is always. For every night, there's a day. There's always a yin to a yang, whatever you want to call it. So we acknowledge that side of it is real. We acknowledge that we fight wars over it, for crying out loud. Yeah. So there is an entity, you know, or a God, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call them. So it stands to logic, our own logic, that there's got to be a flip side to that. There's got to be a flip side to it. So if that's good,
if you believe in God, you've got to believe in the devil.
There you are. There's got to be bad. You know, if there's good, there's got to be bad. Do we choose to wipe that out of ourselves? Do we choose to try to ignore it, or whatever it is? I don't know. So to me, it's a very real thing. It really is a very real thing. Yes, there's the schizophrenia. Yes, there's all the other bits and pieces that we now know of, medically wise. But there is still, I still genuinely believe, and again, there are still to this day people employed by the church, by the Vatican, who literally go round and cleanse people and go out and look after people that have been possessed and make them better. Let's just get that out there. They come away being fixed. Not all the time, but
yeah. But you say that, but then, you know, again, is that just again another, you know, what we believe? You know, if you believe you've got a demon inside you, and then someone comes around and tells you you're now cured, do you? Oh, okay, I must be cured. You know, there is an element of that placebo effect, isn't there? You know, if you, I mean, you know, if I was acting peculiar and vomiting all around the bedroom,
more than normal,
you mean, spinning around on the bed. You know, my family wouldn't call the church, because we're not really believers in church. They would actually call the lunatic asylum.
I'd call it normal.
You'd call it just a normal Saturday morning
on a Friday night and a Saturday
morning.
Well,
that is a Friday night. But so what I'm saying is, so people who call the church will be believers. So therefore, if someone's going to tell you you're now cured, then therefore you're going to believe you're cured. You know what I mean? So you know.
This argument could go on and on and on.
It is, but a lot of it is about belief. I mean, we just had a very brief conversation about manifesting, and we're going to do that another day. But I genuinely believe a lot of that is about belief. And as soon as you start believing something, then it's more like, you know, again, going back to the 4-minute mile, right? Okay, I'm going back in time now, right?
Yeah, Roger
Bannister. Nobody believed that anybody could do a 4-minute mile. It was unthought of. It was nobody believed they could do it, right? Roger Bannister did it, right? Within about 2 years, about 4 other people did it, because suddenly it was possible. We suddenly believed actually human beings can do a 4-minute mile. Somebody's just proved it. Therefore, we're going to do it. So the power of belief is an amazing thing. And
I agree with you.
And so if someone's going to come around from the church, come into your house, throw a little bit of water over you and say, "Be gone, spirit, you're now cured." If you genuinely believe that, that could change your behavior completely.
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay. I can't disagree with you.
No.
Because
it's a great, I mean, it's something we've never experienced. A lot of what we believe in it is all based on what we see on television and Hollywood. So we don't know the real facts of it. Maybe you should sit down with your brother-in-law one day and have a chat.
Yeah, maybe.
you know, and see what see what he actually believes.
Yeah.
You know, that would be interesting. And then maybe we'll do a follow-up video after you've done that.
Yeah, that's not a bad plan.
Maybe we should invite him on. I did think this, you know, we should perhaps have a guest one week.
Maybe we should.
I think we should have a special guest speaker.
I'm going to ask Carol Vorderman.
She'll come on. I bet you she will. You'll have to offer a bit of action in the back room, but she might come on.
Okay. And I'll take one for the team, Jay.
Yeah, I said the back room, not the back door. Anyway, enough of that. So let's say then, what do we think then? Demonic depression, demonic possession.
They have been a bit fed up recently. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So
what do we think?
Right. Well, listen. I tell you, I'm out there. I do believe it's a thing.
Joy, I'm gay. I'm leaning towards more logical explanations, but I've still got an open mind on it. That's where I am.
Good man. Good man. Yeah. I think that's the key to it, isn't it? Keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind. So, anyway, thanks everyone for watching for us dribbling on for the last 27 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you like the video. Please like the video. And please subscribe to the channel because we want more subscribers. We've got 6,000 now. We're very happy with that. We're going to perhaps hit 7,000 by next week.
Very happy.
So thank you all for subscribing. And if you want to be notified when we bring out a new video, which is usually once a week, what we got to do, Steve?
Well, mate, let's use the ghostly finger this time. Ghostly finger that's coming in from who knows where. Look, it's not mine. You've got to press that
bell icon. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.
See you later, guys. Take care.